Hi, everyone. It's late night snack time. Welcome to Voice of Our Own. I'm Allison Kinnear. Thank you so much for joining me every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. I do this late night snack where I talk about self-care, I talk about parenting, and just life. And today we're going to be talking about life. I wanted to continue on what we talked about last week around my mom's friend and how do you break up with an adult friend. And I originally entitled this "Breaking Up is Hard to Do," but I actually in between Monday and tonight, I've decided I don't want to talk about breaking up necessarily because we talked about that. But I do want to talk about how do you navigate adult friendships when they start to get really tricky. And and I wanted to clarify a few things. So last week we talked about how my mom had this really lopsided relationship with this other woman. This other woman kept inviting my mom to go out and spend time together. And my mom tried to kind of like fade away and hope that maybe this other woman would pick up on the hint. This other woman did not pick up on the hint. And my mom kept being like, oh, maybe this time it'll be better. And it just never was. And it just wasn't a good fit. So my mom mustered her 20 seconds of courage and told the woman, I just want to let you know, it's not a good fit. And I'm no longer going to be really communicating with you. And what was interesting is like this got a lot of response from people, and I wanted to talk about a few things that came up between last week and today. So one thing that I know one of my friends said to me was, and a couple of people said this, I just prefer to like let things fade out. And I agree. I don't think every relationship is going to require someone to be like, yeah, it's not really working out. So like, let's just stop doing this. Not every relationship is going to require that. But sometimes when things feel really lopsided and the person is persisting, then that action that my mom took is probably needed. But, relationships kind of fade out all the time. And they may not be forever faded out. It may not be like, I never want to see you again kind of thing. It may just be life circumstances, things that just naturally pull you back. And I know for me, I am someone who I have a lot of people who I love and I cherish and I adore, and I don't stay in contact. I have some friends who are always sending the emails, "Hey, how are you doing? Just wanted to check in," or maybe give a phone call every few months. "Hey, how are you doing?" I love those people, and I love to receive those kinds of communications, but I find that I'm just not the person to initiate them. And so for me, my thing is like, okay, life pulls us in different directions. And then, when we do reconnect, if I call you or you call me, or we just somehow find our way back to each other, it's like no time has passed. I had a friend reach out to me and I realized it has been 8 years since we had talked to each other. 8 years. But I was so delighted to hear from her. I think she was delighted to hear back from me. And it was so great just to have a little exchange with each other. So not all friendships need to be the hard stop. But if someone is sucking the life out of you, remember like that Dementor does to Harry Potter? Somebody is sucking the life out of you and you are miserable every time you're in their company and you don't want this relationship to continue, then that's when the hard stop needs to happen, right? But today I wanted to tell you another story, something that happened to me pretty recently. I have a very dear friend of mine who I love and adore and cherish. And she had called me a couple of times and I hadn't gotten a chance to return her call. Or I was returning her call like a lot later, or I would send her a text like several days after she had called me. And this kind of like miss thing kept happening. And we finally were able to talk to each other on the phone one night, and we were chit-chatting, and then she's like, "Hey, can I talk to you about our friendship?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course." And she said, I called you several times and I didn't hear back from you. And I was really expecting, there's all these things happening in your life and there's all these things happening in my life. And I guess I had this expectation of our friendship that we would share those things with each other a lot more than we currently are doing. And when you don't call me back or text me back, the story I make up in my head is that you don't want to be friends with me. And I wanted to check in with you and see if that's true. And I was really like, wow, that is so not what I was so grateful that she said this to me. And I also was like, oh my gosh, no, 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 that's not the case at all. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I hardly am able to communicate with my husband, who I sleep next to every night. My life is, I let my life become full with my friends, or not my friends, with my kids and with my work. And there's very little that I find I'm able to give, because those are the things that take priority in my life. And I tend to, when it comes to friendships, I tend not to like initiate those calls. It's just, it slides off my plate, and I take ownership that I allow that to slide off my plate. And I was like, no, 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 I cherish you so much, and I'm so grateful when we get to talk. It's just to find a time to talk to you without children around is really, there's not a lot of time for that. And then I like to sleep and do other self-care. And she was really grateful to hear that that was the case. And we were able to kind of go back and forth and share her perspective, and I was able to share mine. And I was like, thank you for telling me. I'll be more sensitive to this so that I can text you back a little bit quicker than just sending you a mental text. And so we can continue our friendship. And I know for some of you, you've mentioned to me, either in the comments or just verbally, has said, this makes me think about some of my friends. Like maybe I wasn't picking up on their cues, that they no longer wanted to be friends with me. And I think about what my friend did for me, which was such a beautiful gift, was to say, hey, the story I'm telling myself is that you no longer want to be friends with me, and I just want to check in and see, is that true? Because we don't know what's happening on the other side of that silence. We don't know what that other person is going through, and it could be that they don't want to hang out with you, or it could be that, or maybe they had some stuff that they weren't recognizing was preventing them from calling back, or maybe it's just like things just happened and things filled in that space, otherwise. So that's what I wanted to offer, because I think navigating these adult friendships, there's not really a rule book, and we don't really know how it's done. But when we can show up with honesty, when we can show up with those 20 seconds of courage, and when we can show up being really transparent about the stories we tell ourselves and what we're and reality check that with the other person, then it can really open up a deeper intimacy in the friendship, and also just open up a new chapter in that relationship and help everyone get on the same page. So that's what I have to offer for tonight's late night snack. Let me see who is on here. My phone is blowing up. Hi, Mom. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Nick from Australia. Nice to see you. And Jessica from Canada. I know Canada's huge. I keep forgetting where you are at. You're somewhere up there. Jenny and Tana. Yeah, I hope I'm saying that right. Tana, that's the kind of friend you hold on tight to. Absolutely. And Alicia, hello. My best friend is watching. Absolutely. I think there's, it is the kind of friend that you want to hang on to, because that took for her, not only did she have to muster her courage, but she also had to have a conversation with herself around what meaning am I making of Allie's silence? What stories am I telling myself about the nature of our relationship? What expectations do I have? Because one of the things she said is like, my expectation of a friendship is that there's going to be this back and forth and it's more immediate. And for me, I was like, my expectations of the friendship is we connect when we can, and when we can't, we just have grace for each other on that. So for us to even be able to have a conversation around the expectations we have and when they're being missed was huge. Jenny, great topic. Good. Thank you. And just Alberta. Of course, Alberta. We had a conversation about that. Thank you. So that's what I have to offer about friendships and navigating these tricky waters. Reality check yourself, see what expectations you're bringing, listen to the other person, be open about any kind of assumptions that you're making, and try to show up in your highest integrity. That's, it's hard to go wrong when you're doing all of those things. So I leave you with that. I hope you have a wonderful night of uninterrupted sleep tonight and always. And if you have any questions or anything else to add, leave it down in the comments below. Have a great night.